Okay, so the significance held by an imperial axis in staging protest action on UCT campus informs a reflection on its role in a consequent manifestation of Grigori Betsin double bind. So this article is written by Nicholas Coetzer, and the title is An Imperial Axis, Counter Memorials, and the Double Bind, The Rise and Fall of Rhodes at the University of Cape Town. On 9 March 2015, Chumane Maqwele, a postgraduate political science student at the University of Cape Town, UCT, staged a protest to which the press had been alerted by throwing human feces at a seated sculpture of Cecil John Rhodes. Maqwele carefully planned his performance against a symbolic target at the center of the set piece of imperial classicism dominating the UCT campus. His actions went to the heart of whiteness. The move had a triple staged meaning. Firstly, as a protest against the ongoing appalling living conditions of those in Cape Town's informal settlements. Secondly, as a protest against the overbearing, glorifying monument to a man who was undeniably a racist, imperialist, colonialist, and misogynist. And lastly, to bring awareness to what was considered to be the ongoing lack of transformation at UCT, an historical white institution with liberal and Eurocentric lineage, and the marginalization of black-lived experience in the shadow of whiteness. Although not the first protest engagement with the statue, it had been painted pink in the late 1970s and was twice smeared with grease and had a swastika outlined in pink in 1997. This was the first to call for its removal. Following further protest by the now formed Rhodes Must Fall movement, the University Senate and finally the Council voted a month later to remove the statue, which was lifted onto a flatbed truck and sent off into hiding. Subsequently, the Rhodes Must Fall movement gained momentum through the offshoot Fees Must Fall movement around campuses in South Africa, which aimed at making higher education at universities fee-free. Violent fallist protests allowed the syncretic crossover between the fee-free and decoloniality protest, compounding the upheaval and securitization of campuses in South Africa. UCT's Vice-Chancellor's office was petrol-bombed and other buildings around the university in South Africa were set fire to. At UCT, there were numerous of fire spotters stationed on building rooftops at night, anticipating the worst. On 15 February 2016, a shack was erected on the Jameson Hall axis, as it was then now known as Sarah Baartman Hall, to protest the lack of residence accommodation on campus, interrupting the crackle of energy between the temple front of Jameson Hall and the now ghostly presence of the disabused and fallen hero of empire. The Sharkville protest defied an order to move the traffic obstructing shack, leading to an early evening bonfire touching on what can be identified as the imperial axis of the campus, of largely portrayed paintings of former white residence wardens and the like, struck down from the walls of the adjacent walls of residence. The axis, it seemed, pulled together and staged at a singular act of violence that the university eventually had to engage with through an Institutional Reconciliation and Truth Commission IRTC, and which left the university as a body traumatized and fractured, eventually giving amnesty to those protesters involved. It is reasonable to say that Makwele's and subsequent protest action brought a focus not only to the statue but also to the monumental set piece of imperial classicism at the heart of the university campus. While there has been extensive documentation and reporting of the students' protests, particularly through news articles and social media, but most importantly, by student protesters themselves, there has been surprisingly little work done on the architectural setting of those protests. Although Brenda Schmarman, Cynthia Cross, Carrie Morris, and Caroline Holmes and Melanie Lowing all provide interesting reflections through a public art lens, while Pendiani Liposa and Nolan Oswald Dennis offer powerful insights connecting architecture and protest at the University of the Wits University. Research is largely silent on the significance, if any, of the imperial axis in this context, which forms the focus of this article. As such, this article is neither heritage focused nor simply an historical study. It rather uses a reading of archival material and historical tropes as a way to reveal and interpret the potential meanings of intransigent or problematic architectural moves, and thereby suggest ways in which they might be engaged with. The original campus design by Joseph Michael Solomon in the 1920s shows lessons learned from Edwin Lutyens and Hardback Bakar's New Delhi in staging a monumental imperial classicism at the heart of the campus. The temple-fronted Jameson Hall, which is now known as Sarah Bradman Hall, the cascading James steps, and the subsequent installation of the seated Rhodes statue on axis articulate the ambition of the British Empire as an intransigent presence. This article brings an architectural focus. It brings architectural focus to this set piece, how the statue of Rhodes was misplaced on it, thereby exaggerating it as an imperial axis, and how particularly architectural strategies subsequent to the protest action might be formed to engage with the imperial axis subsequent to his removal. Counter memorials are explored as a possible strategy to engage with this monumental set piece, largely because they deconstruct and counter the monumental drive of typical memorials, and hence could bolster the decolonial drive of the transformation of the university at the heart of the campus. Indeed, this article locates the Mendy Memorial set at the periphery of the campus as an already existing form of decolonial counter-memorial but inadequate to talk back to the monumental set piece and its imperial axis, despite the potential power of a counter-memorial strategy. The article nevertheless points to the propensity in current South African memorial scapes to deploy figurative statues as a recuperation of a fractured and tortured black body, rather than the subjected to further deconstruction. As such, and given the intransigent and insistent demand on the imperial axis, this article imagines how figurative statue of Sarah Baartman as iconic victim of colonialism's wounding might come to occupy the empty Rhodes pedestal as a new deity or deity on campus. The inability of the Mendy Memorial to talk back, to not signal correctly to the power of the monumental set piece, the imagined recuperation of Sarah Baartman as a figurative deity on the imperial axis, and the protest action within and using the power of the imperial axis point to the main theoretical insight of this article. This is the potential to read this through Gregory Bateson's theory of the double bind, with counter-memorials as potential therapeutic work out of the double bind. Bateson's double bind points to more than a contradiction or a paradox, but rather to the exercise of power through contradictory and impossible demands. Although his theory was focused on the potential reasons for the development of schizophrenia in family situations, it carries strong potential in decolonial contexts. Rather than the hallucinatory escape from reality, which can be understood with the potential overwriting of Rhodes by a figurative deity such as Sarah Baartman, or the magical vaporizing of whiteness on the bonfire of portrait paintings, Bateson proposes working through metaphor as a way of holding the contradictory injunctions and transcending them. The potential homology between this metaphoric work in the double bind and the possibility of the Sharpeville protest shack being read as a counter-memorial on the UCT campus set piece forms the concluding part to this article.